Ladies and gentlemen, the Adult Baby Show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Adult Babies Podcast, episode 119. I am B.
I'm Chick.
And I'm Chris.
And we have a very special guest, comedian Sean Donnelly is with us tonight. Thank you, Sean.
Hey, what's up, guys? How are you?
Thank you
Sean. Thanks for coming on,
We're
man.
excited to have you.
Of course, my pleasure.
Yeah, you're a nice guest for us. You know, usually it's our friends from down the street. Occasional comedian comes on, but you're like a real comedian.
Well, you know
You're
what I'll
a
tell
real
you.
comedian.
I'll tell you. I did the show with when we did that show for Brendan, and the show was. I was just telling my roommate. I was like, that show was so amazing. I always have fond memories of Brendan now. Now I love Brendan because of how you're also a great guy, but that show was phenomenal that we did.
Thank you so much. Yeah, a lot of people I'm sure that listen to this have probably went to that show. They've been to a lot of those. That you were on the first Croxley show that I ever did. And that was
I was going to ask what show that was.
Yeah, that was the very first show that I did, and that was like a very special show for me because I had never put together anything like that.
Yeah.
And it turned out pretty good. And you were the headliner for that show.
Yeah, closed it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks again. That was such a
it was a fun time, and it's also like I don't know if you knew that. Like I used to hang out at the first Croxley's in Franklin Square. Like
yes.
when I was in my early 20s and my like so Croxley's. I know the guys who own it. Like I love Croxley's. So that helped. That helped make that like a really fun gig because I was like, oh, you know, I'd like come out on the train and everything, and then I was like, oh, this is fantastic.
Yeah, it was perfect. Yeah, I usually do those. I do like one a year, one or two a year.
Yeah, that's the feeling that it had. Yeah,
because they're it's a tough show to get a bunch of people in there.
Yeah, dude.
So that was fun. And what was I gonna say? Didn't you used to have an open mic at the original at Crox's in Manhattan or something?
Yeah. So before I had enough balls to do comedy, I just wanted to be around it. So one of the things I did was I was like, I'll set up a show. I was like, I'll produce. I won't do it. I'll just produce. And I literally was like, I'll produce my own show. I knew the guys from Croxley's. So I produced a show at the Croxley Ale House in the city. It was on Avenue B on like 2nd Street.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'll host it, but I won't do any jokes. I'll just announce the comics. I don't even know what I was thinking. Like, it was like, I was like, I'll just go up and I would like my friends. I thought I was Jim Norton back then. This is like 15, 16 years ago. So I would go up and just call I'd be like, what's up, stupid? I would just do a Jim Norton impression, basically. And then bring up the comics and people that I knew that were doing comedy. So, and then what happened was it lasted for 6 weeks and we were getting people there, but it was in their outdoor area. And they told me that they had to cancel it because of noise complaints from the apartment building next door. And then my buddy who does carpentry, he made a stage for us, like a 4 or 5 inch stage. And they go, oh, the stage was stolen one night. I go, that makes no sense. Yeah. I'm like, who comes in and steals plywood from the back of some, you know?
So is that like your first dabbling with comedy though? Is that how you got into it?
Yeah, so I wanted to do it really bad. In Long Island, when I was living out there, the first actual experience was I was dying to do it, and I went to. There used to be an open mic at you know where International Buffet is on Stewart Avenue. You know that place?
Yeah. Yes.
You know, so that place had an open mic years ago, and I was like, I'm going to do it. I got my notebook, I got my 5 minutes written. I'm going to do it. And I walked in, and everybody's sitting there writing in their books and getting ready to go. And it didn't start yet, and I was like, I looked at that, I took one look, and I got too freaked out, and I walked out.
Oh my God.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then I was like, fuck it, I'll just be around it. And I was like not trying it for a long time, not trying it. And then I produced that show at Croxley's that lasted 6 weeks. And then the reason I do comedy, one of the reasons I do comedy is because of Joe DeVito. Because
love Joe DeVito.
Because we met Joe DeVito from doing the show at Croxley's, me and my friend Blaine, and then what happened was Joe was running a show at Jack Dempsey's on 33rd Street. So he goes, why don't you guys come down and help me with that? So I was just, this is how much I just wanted to be around it. I was handing out flyers with no stage time and no pay. I was just, it's like
Barking without getting up.
barking with no rewards. Who barks with no reward?
Oh my God.
It was like the worst indentured servant situation ever.
They were probably wondering, like, what is this guy doing?
Yes, but to his credit, DeVito one time, he told me, he goes, there's an open mic around the corner at this place, Maui Taco. I think after you're done, because of course you handed out the flyers, after you're done, go check it out and see if you might want to go up there. So I went around the corner, and you guys know how open mics are. It was so bad. I'd never been to an open mic before. It was so bad that I was like, oh, I could be that bad. Like I could do what that guy's doing, and that's the only reason I got enough confidence. So 2 weeks later, I walked in there. I had 2 shots of tequila and a Corona, and I went up and did it for the first time.
Oh man.
Oh wow.
Now, how was
awesome.
the first time? Would you call it a success?
Yeah, but only I think most people do have a success the first time. I think because first off, you thought about it so much. There's a lot of adrenaline, and I think they can almost smell it on you that it's your first time, and they're like, even if they don't know it, they're more supportive.
Yeah.
So I had a couple of good ones in a row, and then my 4th and 5th time, I ate my dick. I fucking ate it, and then. And then I just kept going with it, and then it was just back and forth. I don't know how I stayed with it in that stage. The Maui Taco was like a rough open mic. It was like,
yeah, I've heard of Maui. That was before my time, but I've heard of that place. A lot of people mention Maui Taco.
Dude, I'll give you the scene. It was like people eating their tacos and other comics, other open micers, and then where you did the show was. You were in front of a scene, like a Hawaiian scene with a fake VW bus coming out of the wall. Oh and also you were standing on these 2 milk crates that were placed side by side with like this weird blanket over it. And that was the stage. And it was like a shitty sound system. And it was like people were half paying attention to you. It was like really bad. It was like bad.
That's great.
That's
I
awesome,
remember
man.
I had a few times when I started trying to do open mics in the city, and I had the same experience where I wanted to do it, but I was terrified to do it. And I remember the first time I went down, I was supposed to do it might have been like the Greenwich Village, one of those clubs down there. And I went there, and then same thing. I walked in, and I got too intimidated, and I just went to the bar down the street and just got drunk. And I'm like,
yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah, that's
and
how it
then,
goes.
Finally get the courage to do it.
That's how it goes.
Do you think it's harder to get up the first time or the first time after you bomb? Like,
I think it's harder to get it the first time.
Okay.
Because at least you have the history of doing well in your head from if you've already done well.
That's true.
That's a good point.
Dude, I'll tell you this because at least that gives you a little bit of confidence. The first time I go up, I had 0 confidence. I used to bark for a show at not Greenwich Village, but at Village Lantern. This guy Colin Kane had a show there, and it was actually a pretty good deal. So what happened is you would bark for an hour, right? Hand out flyers. And then people would come in. The show would go. He'd have like 3 or 4 people open for him. He would do a half hour, and he'd put the barkers after him. So some of the people would leave, but you'd have about 30 people watch you do 5 minutes, which wasn't bad.
It
really wasn't bad. Not bad at all.
The Lantern's got a cool, like their basement area is really cool.
Yeah, that's where it was. This is before they switched upstairs. So, but I had 2 back-to-back fucking shows that I don't know how I kept going. One of them, I was bombing so badly that some guy in the second row, to his friend, said, "This guy's terrible," like under his breath. He goes, "This guy's terrible," and he wasn't even trying to heckle. Like that's how bad it was. It was just so quiet. I could hear him talking about how shitty I was. So that was that, right? And then after that, then the second night, same thing. I just bombed really badly, and then I came to the back of the back of the stage, and one of the other barker, he goes, "Hey, good job, man." I go, "No, it wasn't, dude. What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Yeah, man, but that's what comedy's about. It's all about bombing." And I'm like, "No, it's not." I'm like, I'm like, what does that mean? What are you, a maniac? And that kid is this kid that was an amazing barker, but a terrible comedian.
Well, there you go. That's why.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you go into it trying to bomb, that's your problem right there.
Well, I think he thinks like what he really meant was there's ups and downs and everybody bombs would have been a better thing to say. That's a better thing to say.
Much better.
Yeah, much better. But you go, that's what it's about, man. It's about bombing. No, it's not. Nobody has ever thought that.
Oh God, that's brutal.
Oh, that
Yeah.
makes me laugh. I love people's stories of when they were first starting and like the bombing experiences, because those are the things that to me make a comic. Because
Oh, sure.
like, it's easy to get up there when you're killing it, but when you keep going back after having some rough outings, because I don't do the comedy, but when I've seen B, like, that's what I think is tough, getting up for the open mics, because there's nobody there.
Yeah, open mics can be brutal, and I've done them recently, but I don't do as much as I used to, obviously. But like, they can be. There's ones that are just people are actively not laughing. You have ones people are just looking in their books. People are talking to each other. People in the back of the room. People are waiting to go up and they're leaving. So I used to run one that we tried to make really diplomatic. We used to do it at this place called Comics, which is not open anymore.
They closed that. Where was that? Was that in the East Village?
No, it was 14th Street and 9th Avenue. It was Meatpacking District. Yeah. It was just a bad place for a comedy class. It was like a really trendy area. So we used to do ours there. And the guy that I ran it with, it was kind of his mic, but I would host it. But he was this older guy, this guy, John Morrison, had a great idea. He would have, first off, he encouraged brand new people and he would make sure all the brand new people were on the list because their audience, when brand new people are starting, you're not jaded yet. You're still laughing at shit. So your audience. So what happens is we would do it where it was a randomized list pretty much, and then we would throw new people on to make it easier. Everybody got 4.5 minutes. We would barrel through it. If you had your notebook out, we tell you to put it away. And then also we give away. So we charged, but we never kept a dime. We would give away two $50 prizes at the end of the mic. So for the last 5 comics, there was at least 5-10 people there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
They didn't
That's a
empty
great
out.
idea.
Yeah, it was actually worked out. But people got mad because they were like, it's a paid mic. But I'm like, dude, I lost money on that mic. And that guy, John Morrison, was like kind of rich. So he used to buy like, when on big like anniversary shows, he would buy like iPods and fucking iPhones and give them away. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
Damn, dude.
That's
awesome.
a great, because I've done a ton of paid mics, and it's just if you get up at the end, there's nobody there, but that gives a real incentive for people to stay.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great, man.
Yeah,
Dude, you put I think it was a video up recently when it must have been when you first did Letterman. And it was so funny. At the end of it, he has to adjust your tie.
yeah.
That
So
is like the adult babies theme there. Like that.
So what you're absolutely right. And what it was that I was there. Obviously, it was my first late night set. I was super nervous for it and all that jazz, And what happens is what you can't tell from the video is that underneath my tie is like that's where they put the sound pack. That's where they put like the microphone. So the mic pack part is in my pocket. So that's why my tie is being pulled towards my pocket. So I'm talking like 5 minutes before I went up, I'm like, this looks awful. So I go to the sound guy and I go, hey man, can you like fix this before I go? Like I'm about to go up. Can you like whatever? And he just takes his hand and pushes it back the other way, like just gently pushes it towards the middle of my body. And I'm like, yeah, I tried that. Like it's something. Your wire is pulling the mic. So I was like, screw it. I just went out there with it. And then at the end of the set, he comes up and straightens the tie. It was like funny. Story of my life, because I already looked like I shouldn't be wearing a tie anyway. So
Yeah.
Is that as like frightening and nerve-wracking as your first time doing stand-up? Like a TV set?
Yeah, it's close. Yeah, it's along the same lines because once you get used to it, and I've done a couple of them, so it's gotten easier. But even now, like I don't get nervous for stand-up anymore. But I did Colbert like a year and a half ago, and like you still get butterflies for that. But yeah, the first one. Yeah. It was very comparable to the amount of nervousness before a first set. You just in a different. The only difference is the amount of experience that you have. You know what it feels like to be on stage already. So it's a different kind of nervous where you're like, I'm just gonna forget all this. Or I'm gonna screw up. I'm gonna fall and do this. Like you just have like it's like regular people public speaking nervousness because you feel like there's a million people watching you. But yeah. Yeah, and then people watched it and they were like, "You look nervous." I was like, "Shit, I was hoping I didn't look nervous."
It's also
That's just
early too, right? It's like not a usual time you would do comedy.
No, it's like early-ish and it's like evening-ish. But I'll tell you this much: that I've done that same theater twice because there's Ed Sullivan Theater. The setup of that theater is a dream setup for stand-up. It's the best possible theater scenario. It looks way bigger on TV. Like it's a super intimate theater. Like you can tell where the balcony people are. You can like they take the camera and they put it in the back of the room, so you don't even know there's a camera right there. Like you don't see.
Oh, all right.
You almost just feel like you're at a theater show, and not even like I've done theater shows that are more people. Like this is like a pretty intimate, laid back theater show. It's like a really, and on top of it, like you don't feel alienated from the audience. They're right there, and you can see them, and it's like and that makes it way more fun, you know.
That makes sense. Yeah.
That's definitely got to be great, though. Just to have Letterman fix the tie too. It's just a great experience. But you got to like polish the jokes to make sure they're not. You got to make sure they're PC, so to speak, and very clean when you're doing the TV ones, right? Because there's a lot more.
They work on that. I worked on that set for like 6 months before we did it. So like they pick what jokes they like of yours, and they're not going to pick ones that are super. First off, I'm not that blue anyway. I'm not super political anyway. But like. A lot of it's self-deprecating, a lot of it's goofy shit anyway. So like, but that was a 6-month process of going back on the order. They had to make sure the language is right. They have to make sure the brand thing is right, like that that they can clear certain brands and stuff like that. So
like if you mention something,
things, you might have to like not mention a certain brand. So that's more of the logistics of it than you're not just going out and doing like whatever set you want to do. You're working on it for long enough that they're not going to let anything go to by the wayside. Like they know also you have to write out the set. I don't know if most people know this. You write it out like about a week or two before. You write out exactly how it's going to go and you send it to them.
Oh, because
I didn't know that.
They do
That's probably for time, I would imagine, right?
Well, what'd you say?
It's probably for time and content.
I think it's so they have it. I think per time. It's not for it's not like cue card. Cue cards they just give you bullet points. So cue cards, and it's not even it's the monitor, and you're just seeing the words pop up like that remind you of your jokes one by one. But to be honest, every late night set I've done, I've barely used the monitor or cue cards.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I'm not that at that level at all, obviously, but I feel like that would be a little strange. It's sort of going down a different path than what you're used to.
It throws you off a little bit, like if I think like, oh, I better look at that, and then but I'm like, if I look over too much, is it going to be noticeable? It's like I get in my head. So if you know the set, you run the set so much before you do these things, or you should be, that it's like second nature at that point.
Yeah, that's so. Sean, you're a Long Island guy. You're from you're what are you, Garden City, or you're a little you were from
like it's like Floral Park. That makes more sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So like right on the border of Queens and Nassau County. So
I was gonna say, yeah, you're right in the border.
But I went to Garden City High School because we had the same zip code. I'm Stewart Manor, but nobody ever knows Stewart Manor.
I know
the town is literally 6 blocks, so nobody ever. So when I tell people, I say either I went to Garden City High School, but then people think Roosevelt Field Mall when you say Garden City. So I say Floral Park because I'm like, that's right next to where I was. Right. Or New Hyde Park or Franklin Square. It was right there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So now, how is this quarantine and everything? I like asking everybody how they're doing with it as far as comedic, what your comedy and your profession. Is this killing you right now? Like,
yeah, you mean as far as job? You mean the work goes? I mean like making?
Yeah,
money?
like are you able to work right now with things completely on hold?
I have a radio show that I do that makes me a little bit of money, but I'm on unemployment otherwise, and I've done a couple of paid shows online, but nothing live. So yeah, it's affected at like 98%. Like it's
crazy. Right?
Yeah, so that was my only job besides like going for auditions and stuff, which is also slowed down. So yeah, man, definitely affected it. Affected like it kind of makes you. I don't know about you guys, but like it made me think about like when this is over, what I want to do and how I want to go about things, and it kind of makes you realize like, oh, I should have been working harder. I should have been doing this. I should whatever. Like you kind of have more time to reflect, I think. But yeah, as far as like stand up goes, I'll tell you like the way it went down for me is I was doing it so much that the first month, like the month of us like being quarantined, I didn't miss it. I didn't miss it at all. And I actually invited the break. And that was and from Sean Donnelly 10 years ago, that's like blasphemy. I'd be like, how dare you say you don't want to go up on a stage? Like you felt like this FOMO, like, oh, if I don't go up, then I'm not doing it. And I'm like, whatever it is. After a while, I'm like, I think of it differently now. Like I really do. So, but now by the second month or third month, yeah, I miss it. That's why I like doing the digital shows, like the ones that are stand-up or the ones that are theme shows, because you can be creative and it's fun. And I did some corporate show the other day, which was crazy. 10 minutes on a corporate show, and that was a lot of fun. Like it was kind of like those video shows are like they're no stakes, So it kind of like lets you run through your brain a little bit, and like if you bomb on a Zoom show, I don't give a shit. Like, who cares?
Right? You just turn it off.
Yeah, right. You just turn it off. It's like, who gives a shit if you bomb on a Zoom show? It's like, that's not what I signed up for. All of us, when we started doing stand-up, we weren't like, hey, when I was a kid, I used to listen to all those Zoom comedy records. Like, that's not, what I'm saying? That's not the job. The job is being on a live stage. So whatever Zoom is, that's a different thing. It kind of has the same mold as stand-up, but it's a different vibe. So basically my evolution of where I'm at now is I didn't miss it for like a month, and I was glad to have the time off. And then now I really want to go back. I want to go back and do it. Yeah. But I also don't want to go back to what I was just doing. I'd rather go back into it, like, career-wise, like I'd rather do the stuff that I want to do, where make sure I'm happy with what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
No, that's a good answer, because I mean, a lot of people now are being forced to try different avenues with the creativity because, like you said, you don't know what the future is going to hold for live shows and things of that nature.
Yeah, man. And the scary part is this, like, to me, like, I'm a stand-up purist. So like, I appreciate people that are good at stand-up. And what's happening is, and the thing that stand-ups always had in their hip pocket about like YouTube stars and Instagram stars was at least they can't do what we do on stage. Like they don't have that. But if that goes away, then all the stand-ups have to go into the world of the Instagram and TikTok.
It's like going into their world now.
It's their turf, man. So it's like their thing of like, you're beholden to their rules instead of them coming and trying to do like comedy clubs. And you hear stories about these fucking YouTube stars that go up and eat their dick for 20 minutes, and you're so excited because they have sold out shows and 3 people come to yours, and you're like, I've been doing this 15 fucking, like that like sour grapes thing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you do have the truth of the matter is like, hey, yeah, because stand-up is different from the show business. Stand-up is different from online. Stand-up is different than improv and acting and everything. And that was the thing that you can hold on to. And it'll get back to that. But right now it's just, people are trying to do it different ways,
Nah.
We've had, I know a couple of comics that just were like, I think I'm just going to mess around with TikTok. And I'm like, okay. Like, we had some comics on the show that they just like, I don't know when it's coming back. Yeah. I'm going to try this video stuff out.
I'll tell you, man. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I actually had because I'm still early in it. You've been doing it longer than me.
Yeah.
I have been missing it a lot. And I had, when was it? 2 days ago, I had actually an open mic in my backyard.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
How many people showed up?
5 of us.
Yeah, whatever. That'll do it. That works.
We had like 10 a week ago, and then the day of, half of them dropped out. I set up the mic and the PA system in the backyard, but it ended up being like 5 of us just hanging out in the backyard, just talking about jokes. Like, what do you think?
The middle of West Islip, just slinging jokes. Yeah. I don't even know if you're from there. It just sounded funny to say.
No, but it did feel good to like actually talk some stuff out with some other comics.
Yeah.
So it was kind of good to get back to that, but I don't know when it's. Who knows when it's.
I would say after the summer, hopefully next year, like we're back ramping up. Maybe next year, I would guess. I would hope. Yeah.
And you guys, when they open clubs in the city, are you guys going to be, early adopters to go back into them, or is there a caution that's still going to be there? I'm personally,
I would go back. I'd go back now and just take the precautions. But I would spend as little time inside as possible. So the way you can do it with the city clubs is you can be outside until you're set, run into your set, hop off, and you're out of there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like or hosting, like running in and out. Like I hosted the Cellar a bunch, and just you can hang out outside and then run down. I was doing that anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the idea of being inside, if it's kind of crowded, there's people, like that's when it starts to get dangerous. So because it's summer, it's like people can just chill outside until it's done. Because I think the way they'll bring it back is they'll bring it back in piecemeal. So I would say we're going to start off with like 20, 30 people, and then
Gotta be
go
something
from there.
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would I early adopter? Yeah, I would do it. I would do it. At this point, I would do it. I think things are opening up so much but I don't know if they're gonna. I think there won't be till like July-ish that they try something out. You know what I mean?
I agree. Right now, they're really slowly opening things back, but people, I feel like, are chomping at the bits too to just get back in the swing of things, and that's gonna push things forward, I think.
Yeah.
I believe that too, because people. I was just talking to a friend of mine about this, who's also from Long Island. He's from Franklin Square, and he lives in Arizona now. And out there, they're all sorts of fucked up. They're awful out there. They're like, they have like huge numbers of. They're rising while we're going down.
Are they really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
They just declared a state of emergency in Arizona.
Well, you figured that was going to sort of head that way, but
Yeah. But they could have nipped it in the bud. They could absolutely. But yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, when we were talking about, he's like, well, the thing that's sad about it is like there's a new normal. So now we're going to be like mask culture and all this. And I go, that is true, but it won't be. I don't think it'll be the same as right now with the masks. I think some of those people will stop. Like I'm a guy who I'll get to a point where I'm not wearing a mask. If there's not an imminent danger, like right now I'm not, but I will, and then I'll carry it around for stores if I have to and stuff like that. But I will get to a point where when I think it seems okay, I won't, like if the majority of people and the things kind of phased itself out, I would do that. So, but there will be a newish. But I think you're right about that. I think people are chomping at the bit to go back to what it was, and it won't go 100%. But I think because of what people do, look at what people are doing. Like in the places they can, they're going out, they're trying to do it. So if it runs its course, like it should, which you hope, but who knows? Then you'll see, things will go back to like mostly normal. I think, but you'll still have that tinge of the germophobic society thing of like the social interaction thing of being weird, like you're less shaking hands and people won't get mad at it, stuff like that, like masks, hand sanitizer in everybody's pocket, like stuff like that. Yeah.
I've already loosened up, and I was early on. I was terrified. I was like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing anything. And then 2 days ago, I'm like, bring everybody. Let's just like, no masks. But like a month ago, I was terrified. I can see myself. I'm loosening up as every day.
And that's why I agree with you, because me and you, both of us specifically, with the three of us on here, Chris was like we thought he was the one who was going out too much, and me and B were very neurotic about in the beginning, and now for me to be like, I'm over the mask already. Like, I'll bring it just because you don't know when they're going to tell you have to wear it. But, I've been golfing and I don't even wear it. It's just like, you got to use your head about it. It's, just pointless to wear it.
Like, I think I'll keep wearing a mask for the foreseeable future in, like, airports or on the subway.
Right.
Like, that seems like a good idea.
Well, also in shops, they're going to make you walk in with a mask on.
Yeah, yes.
But that I don't know if that'll go away that'll be a while. I think that's another 6 months. I think at least.
Oh
and then,
I agree. I think that's going to be for a little while.
And you know what it is, and it's so funny. People are like, oh, they're so mindful. I'm like, these places are doing it because they don't want to be the ground zero for the new uptick of the cases. So they know it's bad press, and the place will shut down if that happens. They're only thinking about the future of the business, which is smart. It's still smart and being careful, but that's why they're doing it. Like
100%.
they could be a little less careful. But I have no problems with being super careful. I think that's they say. I saw a thing that they say we avoided 60 million cases in the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Good. I'm glad. I didn't.
And that'll be the biggest thing to see, is just to see what happens, because that's what we're all waiting to see, is how we get back to as close to normal as possible, and to see the steps that it takes.
But somebody brought up a great point, like in the middle of this. They go, Cuomo's not going to get on TV and go, okay, we're good now. Everybody has to decide for themselves when to take that next step. Like once he gets to phase 4 or Long Island gets to phase 4, whatever happens, he has to. Then everybody for themselves has to decide how far will I go. What am I going to hug people? What am I going to do? It's like then it's a personal choice. Nobody's making any choices for you.
Yeah.
The other day, I was smoking a joint at a social distance gathering, and a friend of mine who I've known since we were, in elementary school almost, came over to me, and we weren't even thinking, grabbed the joint and hit it. And then it was in my head the rest of the day. I'm like, I got to quarantine for 2 more
And you can
weeks.
feel it in your mouth still. You're like, damn it.
I'm like, I texted my friend, his wife, because it was his wife, and I was like, dude, man, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, that's in my head now. I'm like, normally I wouldn't care, and I didn't stop her, and I'm like, but it's just weird now. Now that like that, I would have never thought twice about it.
It's gonna make like germaphobes more hardcore, and then regular people become more germaphobes. Because here's the thing. The other thing is this, man. Like, I gotta be brutally honest. I might have had it already. I just don't know.
I feel that way too.
I felt that way, but I got tested and I didn't.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't get tested, but like, I that's how I feel. Like, the other thing is this. That's why when they were like, you got to open up the country again, I'm like, they're not wrong. Because I'll tell you why. It's like, because the thing about it is this. It is worth it to let certain businesses open up if it means people getting to the point of poverty where that's more unhealthy for them than having COVID. Like when the dangers outweigh each other, then just let people get it and roll the dice so that they can actually live. Because chances are, if they're careful enough, they'll probably won't get it. The percentage will go up, whatever it is. So that's why you have an argument on both sides. Like after 2 or 3 months, and you see like whatever, what is it, like however many people are unemployed and stuff like that, and won't go back to work, or places closing, people losing businesses. When you get to a grand scale of that, where it's like depression level, then that's when you go, oh, no. That's as unhealthy as the flu.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, what's the point of everybody staying home and being healthy if the economy fell apart and you're on bread lines?
But not just that, like the suicides.
Yeah.
Someone said on a podcast that there were more suicides in California since COVID than people who died of it.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't be like, hey, did you die of COVID? No, I died of an iron deficiency from not getting meals.
Right.
I could not afford food. I just starved to death. You'd be like, but I didn't have COVID. I did not have COVID.
I never got COVID, though. It's so funny, though, when you think of it.
I'm living in a van, but I never got COVID. I never got it.
My wife left me. My kids hate me, but I never got COVID.
Never got it. Yeah. Because that's what it becomes. It becomes like this. That's where the news comes in, where it's like the news is like, this is the issue in the forefront of it. So everybody, we have like this panic thing going on. And not that I'm saying it was a panic. It wasn't a panic. I actually agree with the measures that were taken, and I follow them to a T. Like I followed them.
Yeah.
I've been going crazy like everybody else. But what I'm saying is, if you have a 24-hour news cycle, they just keep talking and talking. And you're hearing the same info over and over and over again. You're like, oh my God, I should be more worried about this because they keep talking about it. Like there's this weird thing that happens. That's this panic that sets in, this unfounded panic that you're like, that it could be about anything. Like the minute they harp on anything is when people start to worry, like, oh, I'm doomed. We're all going to die kind of thing. The sky is falling situation.
I felt that way a couple months ago. I got in, the news hit me where I was like, this is going to hit. I'm going to get it. I'm going to die. Like, I'm super paranoid to begin with. And it scared the hell out of me. But now I'm good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what was happening is they had so little knowledge of what was going on. Like I was doing the same thing because you were like, oh, people with respiratory diseases are having problems. Yeah. Oh shit, and that's still happening. But they're like, oh, it's on surfaces. Oh, it's on boxes for 8 days straight. Like they're just making shit up. Like
Yeah. They got people literally washing down everything coming into their house.
Oh my.
And now, apparently, from what I heard, now what it really is that it's not as easy to get as they thought it was, and you have to be in direct contact for a prolonged period of time to get it. Which I didn't realize that. Like I thought it was like, hey, you could just you get into the vicinity. That's why the subways people get in the subways because you get into an area that has it, but it has to be like no mask, and you're in there for a while, that kind of thing.
They made it seem like it was Ebola in the beginning, where somebody walks past you and like if they just look at you and breathe, boom, you got it, and then it just
Exactly.
spreads.
Exactly.
But that's the problem with 24-hour news, and it's probably one of the most underrated, awful things that happened to this. Is you can't have There's not news worthy of 24-hour news.
No, there's not.
There needs to be a break.
Right, and actually, this is one of those things that proves it, because this actually had a lot of stuff coming out about it, and it still didn't fill up 24 hours. You know what I mean? Like, there was a lot of information. Normally, you definitely don't need 24-hour news, because it's like 4 stories that come out a day, and they just beat them to shit. This one, there was actually public safety information, public health information coming out, and even that wasn't happening 24 hours worth of news.
You can still pump it out in an hour.
Yeah, you just bang it out. You post on a message board and let everybody figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need, but then they have to qualify their job, so that's why they do that.
Right. Well, yeah, that's what they do it. All the channels and all the people working for it, and now it's just the whole money thing. Now we got to plug away at everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it goes into we can go down a whole rabbit hole with that.
Oh yeah.
It's not even good.
Yeah, then that gets into politics and all that jazz. Yeah. But like. And I have my opinion, but even that's like such white noise at this point. Who cares? Like I'm obvious. I don't know if it's obvious, but I'm excited for November, like a lot of people are. But I'm also like at this point, I'm like I turned it on. I see stuff about it. I scroll by it. I'm still gonna vote. I still want to get the bullet points, but I don't care enough to watch. The whole idea of, can you believe this? Yes. At this point, yes, I can believe anything. You could tell me almost anything and I'll believe it at this point.
Yeah,
I absolutely will.
It's but on a brighter note, what you said you had some things coming up. Let's talk about some of the stuff you have coming up that you'd like to promote.
Oh yeah, totally. I have a movie podcast called Defend Your Movie, and then I have a radio show.
Really enjoy that podcast, Sean.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks so much.
And I'm a big movie guy too, so that one is right up my alley.
Oh, nice. Yeah, let me know what you think.
I will.
And anyway, and then I have a show on Sirius Radio every Wednesday at 4:00 on Raw Dog 99, and brand new, I have a UFO podcast coming out because there's so much time on everybody's hands. I had to come up with 3 podcasts.
Yeah, exactly.
So for the past. We can even talk about this if you want to.
Yeah, I want to get into that. I know.
Do you believe in Bob Lazarus? Then are you a firm?
You mean Bob Lazar?
Lazar. I'm sorry. What did I say? Lazarus.
Lazarus. Yeah. You mean from the Bible, Bob Lazarus? Well, we can get into it. So let me just tell you real quick. I have this podcast coming out. It's called Skylight. I have people come on and. They tell me stuff that they've seen. They tell me the whole story. I ask some questions about it, and you decide if you think it's something or not. As far as Bob Lazar goes, do I believe? What are you asking me exactly?
Just your take on him as a whole. You don't have to go. I mean, I believe him, but I don't know.
Okay, so if for people, I don't know people that listen to your podcast now. Bob Lazar is the guy who he's basically the guy who made Area 51 famous, because in 1989 a story broke where he came out undercover at first, but without even his face exposed, and said that he worked at a place called S4, which is right near Area 51, and that he was tasked as an astrophysicist to work on reverse engineering these alien spacecraft they had there, right? So for 30 years, this guy was like, people just did not, like, they were saying he is not who he says he is. This is totally untrue. It's all a practical joke. You can't believe him. He was hiring hookers. They were trying to pretty much bash this guy for years and years. So now, actually, a guy who I've known because of me getting into this, Jeremy Corbell, did a documentary about him. That's probably what you saw, right? You saw the documentary about him?
Is it Unacknowledged or?
Not Unacknowledged. It's the one. It's Bob Lazar, UFOs, and Area 51. It's called.
The one that they went on Rogan together.
Yes, they went on Rogan together. Right. Okay. So my take on it is this: my gut tells me that I do believe. I think he's telling the truth. Because this is what this is what it is. What I question with people in this world is this: motive and ulterior motive. Do they have an ulterior motive? Okay, so when you have guys like that wacky hair guy from Ancient Aliens, George Kazamakis, whatever his name is, and he's out there and he's like, "Oh, there's Mary Magdalene was actually an alien," like that kind of thing, whatever it is. when you have that, like, I'm like, this guy has an agenda. This guy's making at least $1 million a year off speaking engagements and the television show and writing books or whatever it is. Bob Lazar never wrote a book. Always wanted to be left alone, pretty much. Says that he came out in public because he actually revealed who he was because he was worried about him getting like taken away to a jail or killed. He was in his 20s when he did it. So there's theories about Bob Lazar. The documentary makes me believe the story more because if you see him, you go, this does not seem like a guy.
Exactly. He seems very believable.
Very believable. And on the other theory about Bob Lazar is this, that he was hired by them, but he was there for a different project, and he said it was a UFO to his friends as a joke. They were testing out like something else, and he's just never told the truth that it wasn't a UFO. Now, at this point, this is 35 years later. Why would you not go? I was kidding. Why wouldn't you have done it 10 years later when you're in your 30s or 40s? Yeah. Why wouldn't you have been like, I was messing around. I don't want to be bothered by this. Whatever it is.
He's been very consistent for a long time.
He tells the same story. The other thing that happened with Bob Lazar is this. He ties into a very recent story. So the way that Bob Lazar said these craft were powered 30 years ago is the same way that now we understand they're powered because of that's something that happened.
The energy going one way and then coming back.
Yeah, creating its own gravitational field. Yeah, exactly. So this is why I got into the topic, because about 3 years ago, there was an article in the New York Times, and all it was about, and the New York Times I tend to believe. If you're doing reporting on something, I tend to believe most of what the New York Times is going to say. The article was talking about a group within the Department of Defense called ATIP, and what they were tasked with doing. It was started by Harry Reid, senator from Nevada, and another senator. And what they were tasked with doing was looking into these videos that military sources were sending into their higher-ups, saying they could not explain what these things were. So what these guys in this group, ATIP, were supposed to do was look at these videos and find out reasons of what they possibly could be. So they did that. These guys are paid to be observant. They came up with a list of 150 things these things could be, and they could not explain 10% of them. And after they started looking into it more, they realized the way these things are probably powered is the same exact way that Bob Lazar said they're powered. So that makes me – you aren't talking about fucking rednecks in the middle of the forest being like, I saw them.
Exactly, man.
Like, you're talking about guys who can stand to lose everything. And if you tell people to look up the Nimitz incident, okay? David Fravor. Look up David Fravor on Joe Rogan and tell me that guy doesn't seem believable.
That story was
I have
super
to look
convincing.
at him. I don't know him.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, that one I don't know. I've looked a lot of the Bob Lazar stuff. And he
was like a Navy pilot or something, right? He had a really convincing story.
He was a guy who was in charge of 300 pilots on the Nimitz aircraft carrier, okay? And he was the head of those guys, okay? So I can tell you the story if you want. I don't want to monopolize the conversation here, but
please.
This stuff is right up my alley. That's why I kind of brought it up. I love this shit.
This is a guy. I'll tell you. Back in 2004, I'll try to tell a quick version of it. 2 weeks in a row, the Roosevelt, which was an aircraft carrier, a ship that was near the Nimitz, was tracking these things on their radar for 2 weeks straight. And these objects, they were getting these objects that would go up to 50,000 feet, and then they were tracking them there, and then come down to 50 feet above the water, and then go right back up in 2 seconds. They were going remarkable speeds, right? So the Nimitz and the Roosevelt, I guess, would talk back and forth, whatever it was, right? So Fravor is the head of the pilots on the Nimitz. One day, Fravor and one other pilot, they're in an F-18, and they're doing exercises with another plane with 2 other pilots in it. Out of nowhere, they're radioed in, and they're told, what are you up to? What are you doing? You have real world tasking, which means something's actually going on. And they go, we're seeing these objects again. We want you to go see if you can get eyes on these things. So they fly over to where the location of where they said the object was. The people on the radio at the ship go, well, you're at not cap point, what's it called? Plot merge, which means that they were right on top of whatever they're trying to look at. The radar couldn't differentiate between the plane and the actual object. So they go, look around. What do you see? Fravor looks down and sees a giant 100-foot space of water kind of frothing up, like you're boiling it or something, right?
Okay,
and right above that, he thinks he sees an object, a huge object below the water. And right above that, he sees a 40-foot tic-tac shaped object with no wings and no exhaust bouncing around like a ping pong ball above above that frothing water and that object, right? So he tells the other plane, he goes, I'm going to get a better look. You stay above to witness the whole interaction. He heads down, tries to get behind this thing to get a better look. He's a couple thousand feet away. This thing takes notice of him. They start going in a clockwise circle. He tries to cut across the circle to get closer to this thing. It takes off from like 1,000 feet above the water to 30,000 feet in 1 second. Like 1 second, this thing's gone. Like it's fucking gone. So
I've
he's
seen
like
videos of stuff like that where they shoot all over the place, like real.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You don't know what the.
But this is the most believable story
video
because
of it?
they have video that was taken when they got back. Another pilot went out and they got video of one of these objects. So there's 3 videos that were released: the Go Fast video, the gimbal, and one more. And they all were released at the same time this article came out. And that was what happened a few months ago or a couple months ago with Department of Defense. When we're in quarantine, the Department of Defense said, yes, these videos are real and we don't know what's in these videos, which is huge because the last time the government admitted that something was unidentified was like right before Roswell happened. And they said it was a flying saucer and then took it back. So since then, the hard line of the government has always been like, no, there's no. They
always try and come up with an excuse and justify what it is. They never
Which is why-
admit that they know.
Yeah,
So-
I thought it was so crazy though when that happened. Like nobody seemed to care. It was like the last story of the day during this quarantine.
Nobody cares because
They
it's
try
not.
and brush that shit under the rug.
Yeah.
That's why I think they did it during COVID. I think that's why they were like, oh, we'll just do it now and we can't be called on it later. But So
I just feel like there's more reason to believe it than not, in my opinion, because you have to be a little naive, in my opinion, to think that we're the only ones here in the world or
Absolutely.
in the universe, whatever you want to call it.
Right, and I'll tell you another reason I believe it is, like I said, the ulterior motive of people. David Fravor, the only time that he told this story in public was after he retired because he was a guy who had everything to lose. He's got his family, his friends, all that. Like they would think he was a freaking kook. And then because of, I think, of the New York Times and this journalist, Leslie Keane, like he finally came out and told his story. But before that story was just something he told his friends at a bar. And if you watch this guy, you're like, this is a career military guy. This isn't some guy trying to be TikTok famous. This is just some regular guy.
It's true.
So to me, that's why I'm so into it, because the minute you look into it, there's a lot of bullshit, but there's so much stuff that you're like, that seems kind of for real to me. Like that's like for a rational brain, which I think I have, and it seems pretty for real. So that's why I got into it, and that's why I'm doing the podcast, because I wanted something that wasn't just like spooky sounds and like weird hair.
Dude, you got me. I'm all in on this one. I love this.
I'm in for
What's
that.
the name of the podcast again?
It's called Skylight. The first episode comes out Thursday.
Oh, Thursday. So,
Dude, I'm in. I can't wait.
yeah,
Where can we find it?
You can find it on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, whatever, and Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, and I think it's going to be on Pandora. I think I submitted that.
cool.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool.
By the way, did you guys see that Unsolved Mysteries is coming back on Netflix?
Yeah, I did. I heard about that.
Like a
That's
reboot, or they're re-airing the old episode?
it's
I think it's a reboot.
It's a reboot.
Oh, that's gonna be cool.
Oh,
That show
nice.
used to creep me out when I was a kid.
Me
and
too.
I'm looking forward to it now.
Did they say who's hosting it?
I didn't see anything with a host, but it's the same people that the same group involved that had the original one got together with the people that made Stranger Things. Is from what I
Oh, the
cool.
Duffer Brothers or whatever those guys
yeah.
are.
So,
Yeah.
You
know what? It's all going to be about the host, though, because a bad host will ruin it.
Yeah, Robert
That
Stack.
host was the
Robert
best.
Stack was amazing.
He was
He was the best.
that voice, that music. It was fantastic.
He had the nice hair. I mean, the grayish. Yeah, he was a good one. That guy.
He's awesome.
But see, that's great. That I'm glad you're doing a podcast into this field, though, because this stuff highly. And I don't know many of my friends don't know, like they're not into the whole alien or UFO stuff.
We'll do
And
that.
I'm not like
Yeah.
the conspiracy theorist, but like you said, I like to think I'm pretty level-headed, and some of them, it's all about where it comes from. And this is just one that seems too much stuff is seems to be true.
That's how I was. Before I read this article, I was a guy who was like, yeah, I guess it's probably true, but it's probably you can chalk it up to something in our world. That's the way I thought it was. But when you have military guys that are that seem pretty sober and pretty well versed and pretty observant and saying like and really have like they can be embarrassed and they come out and they're like we saw this stuff, that makes me go, oh, maybe it's worth looking into and then have an opinion about it. There's all sorts of cool theories on what it is because that's the ones I believe, the ones that go, we don't know what it is. We're not saying it's little green men. We're just saying we don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. To admit that you don't know is makes me think that it's a lot more believable.
Exactly.
Now, what exactly do you do on the movie podcast? I'm not gonna lie, I'll be guilty. I haven't heard it yet, but that's something.
That's right. It's called Defend Your Movie. So a guest comes on and defends. We pit two movies against each other. The original, the two movies that have similar themes. The original podcast was that it was supposed to be you would come on and you would have a movie that you love that nobody else does, and you would defend it. But that never worked out because people would come on. And a lot of the times people go, I love it because it's so bad. I'm like, that's not a defense of the movie. Yeah. And then, so it never worked out because they wouldn't be as enthusiastic. But when you pit two movies against each other, people get really emotional and really like
that. Well, you want to make sure you're better or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I always try to do that with The Burbs because people always tell me they don't think it's a great comedy. And I feel like The Burbs is one of my favorite comedies.
It's amazing. All time. And The Burbs has a huge, like, believe me, there's a silent fan base out there about The Burbs. Yeah. A lot of people love The Burbs.
But that movie got critically destroyed. Like, it wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
You never get here. No one ever mentions The Burb for Tom Hanks. But you got Bruce Dern, Corey Feldman. It's got, what's his name? Carrie Fisher. It's got a great cast. But that movie, the plot, I was just, I think
that guy's great. The guy Rick Ducommun, whatever his name is. He was I think it was a Canadian
Art.
Yeah, he's a Canadian stand-up. That guy. I think it's the same. I don't know if it's the same guy. I think it's the same guy that's in Groundhog Day.
Yes.
Oh, like the towny guy. Like it's like put that anywhere, pal.
It is the same guy. Oh. That's I didn't know the director was the same guy who made Gremlins.
Oh yeah, what's his name again? It's like Joe.
I forget his name, but
not
I know
Joe Dante or something like that. Like Joe, something like that. Yeah.
Yes, Joe Dante.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but like that movie, I always find myself debating it, and that one I stand by is not just a cult favorite for me, but I think it's one of the best comedies of all time.
I'll tell you, Bruce Dern is like one of the funniest parts of that movie. Bruce Dern is amazing in that movie.
He's one of my favorite. Yeah. Ever since that movie, he's one of my favorites ever. I love him in everything.
You know, it's a great movie that people don't talk about a lot, and it's really fun to watch. And Oliver Platt's in it, who's like one of my favorites. Diggstown. It also has Bruce Dern. You ever see Diggstown?
Yes, I don't. I've seen that a while ago, but
it's awesome.
I watch anything really with him in it.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Now, did you see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Did you like?
Yes,
Bruce
I did.
Bruce Dern was great.
Yeah, he was great in that. He's also great in He's also great in Nebraska. Nebraska, he's phenomenal in.
Nebraska, he was a fantastic movie.
But yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I was one of those people that went to go see it in the theaters, did not like it, rewatched it and loved it. I've seen it 4 times total now.
Yeah, I've watched it a bunch. I went the night it came out, and I don't know. See, when I first watched it, I didn't know if I loved it
right off the bat.
Yes, I did love it. I didn't know if I was biased, and then I rewatched it, and I really think it's one of his. Listen, it's not his best, but it's up there as far as one of his better movies.
Well, once I knew the point of what it was, like what it was trying to accomplish, I liked it even more. Yes. And there's a quote from a review that I saw highlighted on a website that was "This movie cares," which really made me like it more. Because if you really think about it, to create something like that, think about what it had to go into making it look like that even. Oh my God! You know how hard it would have been to like make all that stuff look believable, like you were driving around at that time and all.
He made a whole basically this filmography for Leonardo DiCaprio's character.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he made a whole career for that guy, and they got green lighted, and they're doing Bounty Hunter now as a series. I think it's going to be on Netflix.
Oh, get out of here with
that.
DiCaprio.
That I don't know. I just know it got greenlit, and it's even on IMDb. But there will be a Bounty Hunter series. I hope to God it's DiCaprio, but I don't know.
It's gotta be. You gotta
It has to
or
be,
like,
right?
or unless they
Netflix is
play it like a bounty hunter, a bounty law. That's what it's called, right?
Bounty
Or
Law. What is it? Bounty Hunter?
Whatever
Law.
it's called. Yeah, bounty
Yeah.
law reboot, where it's like it's supposed to be the thing that comes out after the DiCaprio one, but
That's
it's with like a couple years later, but within the same world. You know, that kind of thing.
Yep. But yeah, I can't wait for
They're
that.
also coming out with a 4-hour version of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for Netflix, just like Hateful Eight.
It's like the unedited version.
Oh,
of
that's
Hateful
I'm
Eight.
sorry. I tap out at 4 hours. That's way too long. For
What are
me.
you gonna do?
Pretty
You're in
long.
quarantine, Brendan. What are you gonna do?
Dude? Not.
What are you
sit
gonna
down
make
before-
muffins? What are you gonna do?
Did I tell you what they're probably gonna do? They did a 4-hour Hateful Eight, same thing.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
but they chopped it up into 4 episodes.
That's too
Oh,
long.
see, that's a good idea.
Wait, they did that for real?
For Hateful Eight, if you go on, I watch it every night too because I like going to sleep. I like going to sleep to Quentin Tarantino movies because of the dialogue. I know the movie so
And
well.
because you're a psychopath? Is that why? He's like, Tom's like, I go to bed to the Gimp scene from Pulp Fiction every night. I can't fall asleep. unless if I don't hear the Gimp laughing, I that means that it's dream time. It's sleepy time for me.
Yeah.
Lullaby. Yeah.
But the Hateful Eight, the extended version is 4 episodes. So they broke out down the movie into episodes, and it's just a lot of added dialogue in the scenes and stuff. It was cool. I can't wait.
Hateful Eight's kind of like a turn of the century Reservoir Dogs. Like it's kind of the same thing.
I agree. People, that one a lot of people didn't like that one, and I guess I get it, but it was up I loved it.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan.
Sean, are you a big Tarantino fan in general?
Yes. I was like obsessed when he was like big and Pulp Fiction came out and all that.
Yeah.
I was big into it then, so I've always been a huge fan. Yeah.
And
I was big into Wes Anderson too for a while, but I've grown to be more critical of Wes Anderson because he just got too far up his own ass.
Yeah, he was better in the beginning.
Well, you know what the
His
theory
earlier
is,
stuff.
because it used to be Owen Wilson or him were half and half as far as creative went. And then the more that Owen Wilson wasn't involved, it became more like every movie was just like this like weird like universe, like this weird like art like storybook universe. And some of them I like but what I really didn't like of Wes Anderson's that's recent is Moonrise Kingdom.
Wait, what was
Didn't
it?
see that.
Moonrise Kingdom?
Moonrise Kingdom. What'd you say?
Oh, okay. I did not see that. I know what you're talking about, but I did not see that.
And then the Grand Budapest Hotel I liked a lot actually. That one was good.
That was good.
That was a good
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
That was good.
Are you a Coen Brothers fan?
Yes. Yes. We talk about it on the podcast all the time. I think they might have the best track record out of all the directors as far as how many fucking masterpieces. No Country for Old Men is in my top 5. And then but did you watch Buster Scruggs? Speaking of episodes.
Buster Scruggs is great. The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Oh, check it
That
out.
was one of my picks,
All right.
B.
I'll check
That
it
was
out.
one of my picks from a long
It's
I
time.
like
one
the
of the-
Coen Brothers. I'm a big fan of the Coen Brothers.
Oh, watch it.
That's the one that got away from me.
Watch it
All right.
tonight. It's one of the most. It's also it's sad. It can be brutal at times, but it's one of the most beautifully shot movies you'll ever see.
All right.
Yeah,
that's
it is. It really is. I agree with you 100% on that.
The acting's phenomenal. It's really fucking cool.
I recommended that movie on this show and B was like on the fence about it too, and I remember trying to tell you like
That
trust
was
it.
cool.
It's good.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot.
Oh, it's on
Even
Netflix. Sweet.
Even if you watch the first 2 at least,
Yeah.
but
All
they're
right.
all vignettes. That's why you can give it a shot because they're all vignettes. If you don't like one, it's gonna be over in like 15 minutes. You know,
All right.
And I was trying to look at it. I just Googled it. That was what my favorite West End. Well, not my favorite. Well, one of my favorites besides Rushmore was the Darjeeling Unlimited.
Oh yeah, Darjeeling Limited. Yeah.
Darjeeling Limited. I love that movie.
My favorite Wes Anderson is probably Tenenbaums, if I had to guess one.
Oh wait, I forgot about it. He did do the Tenenbaums. Tenenbaums is better than Rushmore, but I love Rushmore too.
Rushmore's amazing.
They're like the same type of movie.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. But I don't know. I could go on about movies at all. I used to
Absolutely.
do picks on this,
By
just
the
so
way,
you know. I did Chick's picks, and
Yeah,
I used
we're
to
gonna
pick 3
we're gonna be
movies.
wrapping up soon, but Chick informed me today that so Sean Chick used to do our friend Tom down there. He used to do every episode. He would do a Chick's pick.
And
Or
used to, as in last
that he
episode.
likes. And then he stopped doing it. And I'm like, we have a guy that has a movie podcast on now. And he's like, no, I think I'm done with the movie stuff. With you.
Well, I knew I would talk about him. I'm like on the fence with it. I want to go. I got to rechange how I do my pick.
Well, you know what I just watched for the. Oh no, I'm late to the party on that. I just watched for the first time was A Quiet Place, and I loved it.
Did you
Okay.
love
That
it?
was good.
Yeah,
I
I'll tell you
heard
why
they're
I loved
coming
it.
out with a second one.
They are. Well, they were supposed to
Yeah.
release it. And
I thought it didn't come out. Or
It
No,
didn't
no,
come
I'm
out
saying
yet.
I just know it is coming out. I don't know.
I'll tell you why I loved it because I watched a knockoff version of it first, so it showed you how good it was by how bad the knockoff.
The
I
other
watched
one was.
not the Sandra Bullock one. I watched one with Stanley Tucci called like this, like a soundless or something, like the no sound or whatever. I forget what it's
Yeah.
called, but it's so bad. It's like
Really?
it's like comically bad. Like it's bad.
I like Stanley Tucci.
Like you root for the family. I love Stanley Tucci, but it's bad. And you like root for the family to get killed. Like it's like that kind of bad. And but when you watch Quiet Place, I'm like, oh my god! First off, surprising, John Krasinski, dude, he directed it. Amazing
Great.
job directing.
He actually, he did do a good
Yeah.
job on
Very
that.
talented, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I would recommend The Quiet Place because that's one movie I didn't think I was ever gonna watch, and then when I watched it, one of the best last scenes, like very last scenes
Yeah, very
in
good.
a movie. It's a badass scene. Yeah.
Can I
Good
ask,
ending.
before we wrap up, is it scary? Because I'm not a...
I'm the same way, Brendan. I'm
I
the
wouldn't
same way.
call it scary.
It's not
thrilling,
scary.
Not scary.
Suspenseful.
I'm the
Yeah.
same. I don't like scary movies.
I didn't mess with it because I was like, I don't want scary.
Much more suspenseful than scary.
I'm the same way as you, Brendan. I can take suspenseful. I like suspenseful, but not scary. And even to the point where I hadn't watched Cabin in the Woods because I thought it was scary. I just watched that for the first time too, and it's so good. Watch that if
That was
you
good
haven't.
too? All right.
Because
And
it's
the
not
other-
what you think it is.
I've been watching The Sopranos lately, and that
Talk
show.
about scary, am I right?
My point, like that show is like I started rewatching it, and all they do is eat in that fucking show.
Oh yeah, but that's what Italians do.
Yeah, I guess. I'm sorry to go so off topic. I was just thinking. I
No,
haven't been-
no, it's a phenomenal show.
That's all right.
But that's why I haven't
Did I
been
ever tell
doing
you-
picks either, because I haven't watched much. I've been watching that a lot lately. And I did watch one movie, though, recently that I thought was good, and it Just Mercy with Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx.
Oh, I gotta check it out.
I didn't see that.
It's about like a true story, though. It was good, about a guy who's on death row and for a crime he didn't commit, and the lawyer takes on. He does like wrongful
Are
convictions.
you bringing chick pics back now?
No, just one movie I watched. Just one movie.
Okay.
Chicks
Well,
Pick.
do you want me to? But have you all seen The Sopranos or no?
Yes.
No, but I'm probably not going to watch it.
He's never.
Okay,
He's a little
you're
younger
missing
than
Because check. You want me to tell you what I figured? A crazy thing I figured out about The Sopranos.
Yes, go for it.
Okay, so really quickly, do you remember the scene where they're doing the intervention for Christopher?
My favorite episode of the show.
Okay, remember when? Okay, so at one point, Tony Soprano finds out that Christopher suffocated the dog because he was high on heroin. Remember that?
By the
And
way,
wha-
that's one of my favorite scenes. I know
Yeah.
I'm a big dog lover, but that was,
Yeah, but it's so fucking brutal. But here's the thing.
Falls asleep.
He falls asleep and killed the dog. And then when Tony finds out, because he's a thing with animals in the show, he freaks out. But what does he say? He says, I should suffocate you. And how does he kill Christopher at the end of the show?
Wow. Oh, mind blown.
dude,
Isn't that crazy?
that's a deep cut. That's. I would never put that together.
There's no way that's not on purpose. There's no way they didn't do that on purpose.
Yeah,
And then-
that's definitely true.
And
The
the other
only thing
thing,
is-
what? Oh, sorry, go
No,
ahead.
go. No, you go.
No, I had another thing about what's his name? Remember when Vito is gay, and then they track him down? His cousin's. Who's the guy? Frank Vincent tracks him down
Yeah.
Yeah.
to kill him. When Frank Vincent kills him, he comes out of a closet,
Ah.
and that's got to be on purpose
That's kind
too.
of cool.
It's 100.
I thought it was a thing like, oh, they're trying to tell you that character's gay, and that's why he's so mad about Vito being gay.
Interesting.
Ah, that's true. That could be it. My two favorite episodes were the intervention episode, and then the one where Paulie and they get lost in the woods. B that you were mentioning that.
Oh, that's one of the best ones.
Yeah.
Those are the two best episodes in the whole show. Absolutely great.
When they're
There's
stuck in the ketchup packets at the end,
yeah.
for like 8 hours. They're like, So great.
One of my
Yeah.
favorite lines ever is when Johnny Sack's wife gets married. Remember that episode?
Johnny
And
Sack's wife.
and then Johnny Sack asks Tony Soprano. He goes, "Can you kill Rusty for me?" The little guy. He goes, "Can you kill him for me?" Right? And then he goes, "I gotta think about it." So he goes back over to Christopher and like Silvio, and he goes, "He wants me to kill Rusty." Yeah, he says he can whack Rusty, whatever. And Christopher goes, "Isn't there a thing where he can't refuse your request on his daughter's wedding day or something?" And then Tony goes, "Nah, it's the other way around." He goes, he can't refuse my request. And he goes, "You should ask not to do this."
There's so many great lines in that show.
It's one of the best lines. He goes, "You should ask not to do this."
I mean,
That show was.
it's borderline of comedy, The Sopranos.
Oh,
It really is. It absolutely is. 100%.
I mean, yeah. If you weren't
Maybe I
laughing,
should give it
during-
another shot. I
Chris,
found
you-
it so slow.
Listen, it is slow,
So
but
slow. Are you out of your mind? Is this guy for real? Are you for real? Are you
I'm
kidding
for
me?
real.
out of his mind.
the only
Slow.
slow season is like the last one, maybe. And that, I mean,
Yeah, but at that point, you're already in.
well, that's what I said. At that point, you're already invested, so it's not slow because it's how they're ending it up.
I've never heard The Sopranos described as slow. Like
Well,
everybody.
not how I would describe it.
No
Yeah,
way.
I just think, I mean, I get it. When they're just sitting there eating and all they talk about is Foyadell and fucking, oh my God, it's just, I can listen to them talk for hours. It's just great. It's
You
great
might-
writing.
You might join the mafia just so you can,
Yeah.
He needs to find a
some of that,
Mafia
like-
podcast.
Sopranos. They actually have one. They have a Sopranos podcast.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, Chris, you should watch this. Listen to the Sopranos podcast and go along with their episodes. That's what you should
I
do.
should do that. I haven't tried to watch it since I was like 15. So
All right.
Oh, dude, you got to check it
Yeah.
out again. Maybe
I
you'll
mean,
like it better.
Me and Chris actually met Furio one night.
yeah,
So,
that was awesome.
yeah, you got him. He was one of the greatest characters out there.
Or if you're not going to watch that, watch The Wire. That's my favorite show of all time.
I'm trying to get my parents to watch The Wire right now. Yep.
The Wire
I'm-
is the best show of all time.
I love it. I think it's hands down the best show of all time. I've rewatched it like 3 times.
I think that's what I'm going to watch after Sopranos. I'm going to go back and watch The Wire.
Yeah, dude.
But
It's great. But listen, man, this has been a lot of fun, B.
yeah,
I mean, I don't.
Sean, thank you so much for joining us.
Of
tonight.
course. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
And now, what your Instagram is?
My Instagram and my Twitter is @ShawnyTime. That's @SeanyTime.
All right, great.
Cool.
Give him a follow, Sean. You're one of my favorite people that I've come across. You're the best.
Thank
and
you,
I'm
buddy.
really looking forward to this podcast.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate you having me. It's good to see you, brother.
What's the name of that again? I have a terrible memory.
Oh, the UFO one is called Skylight.
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 Yeah.
I can't wait
Guys,
to listen
check
to
out
that.
Skylight. I'm definitely gonna be. I'll be on that. That'll be out this Thursday.
Cool. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
And do we have anything else?
No.
Can I'm actually gonna be hosting a Zoom comedy show this Friday.
Oh, okay. I need to see this.
So anybody that listens to, if you want to see me squirm on a computer, you can tune in on 8:30. I'll put all the information out.
Do you want me to give you? I'll tell you, man. The way
Please.
I've been doing them, and I know what you mean. Like you're nervous to do it, right? It's like, what the fuck? First off, there's no stakes.
Mhm.
I would do it, and then I would do it. I've been doing them. I've just been ranting. Like I've been fitting jokes into ranting.
Okay.
So if you're doing jokes, and like I have fat jokes that I do that I say is because of the quarantine. I'm like, I'm gaining weight during the quarantine. I just do an old joke, that kind of thing. So if you do it in a ranty way, or you do it like where you're just talking, that gets the best reaction. That's what I've noticed, because I've seen people just like do their act against the wall, and I'm like, it's not the same thing.
I don't see it. That's all right. That's good to hear, because I was kind of like, do I stand up? Did you stand up doing it, or did you sit
No.
down? Okay.
That
No
would
way.
be
I
so
love the
awkward.
questions.
B, please use that microphone, but don't have it plugged in.
All right. I'm gonna be ridiculously.
But here's the thing, like we said before, man, you bombing a Zoom show. Who gives a fuck? Who cares?
You know what? I still
You
do.
still can.
You have more credits than me. But Sean, you're great. Thank you so much for coming on here.
No problem.
And we will, guys, like and subscribe, follow Sean Donnelly, and I think that's it, right?
Yeah, man. Be safe out
Yeah,
there
thanks for coming on,
everything.
Sean.
Of
Yeah,
course,
if you guys
guys.
made it this far, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.